This video contains original script writing, narration, music, animation, and editing created by Angel S. All analysis is transformative content based on publicly available information. Some words are meant to be heard clearly. Click C for subtitles.
In China, there's a belief older than communism itself. Not Buddhism, not Confucianism, it's fate. Natal charts, the 8 characters, birth dates. At the highest levels of power, these were never superstition. They were tools. What if I told you that someone's natal chart was taken when he was still in elementary school? What if I told you that a boy was chosen, groomed, made famous, and then systematically destroyed? Not because he did anything wrong, but because his birth date happened to match someone else's needs?
Welcome back, I'm Angel. In the last episode, we covered the first segment of Deborah's livestream, the disappearance of 𝗠𝗲𝗯𝗍, the failed coup at the 4th plenum, and the Taiwan Strait crisis prophecy. Today, we enter the second segment. And this part is darker than the first. Because this livestream revealed a shocking timeline, Yu Minglong's death wasn't planned starting in 2025.
It was planned starting in 2000.
Chapter 1: The Curse of a Mausoleum.
The story begins with Xi Jinping's father. When Xi Jinping built a mausoleum for his father, he invited a Taoist priest to perform a blessing.
The priest told him, "Your father had bad fortune. He was expelled from the party, shunned, isolated. His luck was terrible his whole life. He died too young.
So, if you want to rebury him, you must first reverse his fortune." How do you reverse it?
Find someone with the same natal chart as your father. Then sacrifice him.
This is not a metaphor, this is not symbolic. Reportedly, this actually happened. The mausoleum design began in 2000. It was completed in 2005. The ceremony was finished in 2006.
And the priest specified the sacrifice must happen exactly 10 years after the burial. Why 10 years? In Chinese fortune-telling, one luck cycle is 10 years. It's the complete cycle for fortune transformation. And the person they found, the one with the same natal chart as Xi Jinping's father, was Kimi Qiaoren. The ceremony was completed in 2006. Exactly 10 years later, September 16, 2016, Kimi died. He was 28 years old.
The official story was suicide due to severe depression. But in Spirit Box communications, Kimi's message was completely different.
He was dismembered. They cut off his head, they cut off his hands, they did terrible things to him. And others watched. One of the witnesses at Tinker Sakura was so severe she stay silent. Then, she was silenced on Christmas Eve.
An elementary student's natal chart. But Kimi wasn't the only one. The priest said,
Exactly 10 years after Kimi's death, another person needed to be sacrificed. 2016 plus 10 years is 2026.
But Yu Minglong died in September 2025, 1 year earlier than scheduled.
Why?
The live stream didn't explain directly, but there's a possibility. When the plan started to leak, when someone tried to expose it, they decided to act early.
As if it was all planned in advance. And this person was already identified at the same time they found Kimi. They found him in an elementary school.
That elementary student was Yu Minglong. Yu Minglong.
Did you hear that? This wasn't an adult caught up in a conspiracy. This was a child marked from the very beginning. While he was still in elementary school, his name was already written on the sacrifice list. There's an even more chilling detail. Chang Ching-song started a training program at his school right around that time.
Not to nurture talent, to watch the prey. When Yu Monglong entered the system, they sent us managers. But in reality, we are his prison guards.
Chapter 2. Fatten, then slaughter. Why make him famous? This is the most twisted logic of the whole thing. The live stream mentioned, they deliberately built Yu Menglong into a star so he could accumulate enough qi, fortune energy in Chinese metaphysics.
Only when a person's fortune energy is strong enough does sacrificing them have value. Only then can that energy transfer to Xi Jinping.
So the entire process was designed. First, build him up, make him famous, make him loved, let him accumulate popularity, prestige, energy.
Then systematically destroy him over 2 years. Constant torture, constant humiliation, constant deprivation, because this was also part of the ritual.
They had to break him, disconnect his soul and spirit from his body and joints. Only then could the sacrifice take effect.
Now go back and look at his photos from those final years. The ones described as drinking or not looking well. Maybe you'll see something different. That wasn't a man losing control. That was a man being dismantled. Chapter 3. The Prison Guard. The livestream mentioned the name Du Chang. Reportedly, Du Chang was Yu Monglong's management assistant on the surface, but in reality, he was his prison guard. You could tell just by looking at his eyes. He stole everything that was given to Yu Monglong. If he couldn't sell it, he burned it. Not threw away, burned. Just so Yu Monglong couldn't have anything. What kind of person does that? In Spirit Communications, the company's CEO, Xin Qi, once said,
Once they sign a contract, they're my property. I can do whatever I want with them.
After Yu Monglong signed, it took 90% of his income, leaving him 10%. Then they made him pay his own marketing costs from that 10%.
He was never an employee. He was never known as a slave. And why could this happen? Because it was a state enterprise. They could get away with anything, literally.
Chapter 4. Liu Wei, Julius. During the viewer Q&A portion of the livestream, someone asked about a name, Liu Wei, Julius. The livestream mentioned something about him. While putting this together, I did some checking. Liu Wei is still active. He recently appeared on a livestream and seems to be doing fine. Sometimes channeled messages can be symbolic, or they might point to a different timeline, a different layer of meaning. I can't interpret the full meaning of this on 𝗵𝗲's behalf. I'm keeping this part in because I want you to know. I'll try to present the original content as it was, and I'll also share what I find when I look into things. I'll just leave this here for your reference. Let me tell you a bit about Liu Wei. He was the first Chinese artist to debut in South Korea, training under JYP Entertainment. He won a talent competition in 2005 and debuted as a singer, host, and actor. Friends in the industry call him Julius. He and Yu Menglong were good friends. They worked together on shows like Chase the Light, Brothers. If you've seen him on variety shows, funny and playful on the outside, but actually very sensitive and emotional underneath, you'd know he's been through a lot. His parents divorced when he was young. He grew up with his mother. His mother, Zhang Ying, was the most important person in his life. In 2022, she passed away from cancer at 63. He said they tried everything, but in the end, she died in his arms. That same year, October 2022, his father also passed. He had severe diabetes and had been hospitalized for a long time. In 2023, his grandmother passed too. He wrote, his grandmother had adopted his mother at a hospital years ago and treated both his mother and him as her own family. He said, in 1 year, I lost my mom, my dad, and my grandma. On my household registration, only my name is left. The livestream also mentioned,
You're going to hear more and more deaths announced after the fact, just like the 16 people on that list.
They make up stories, fell off a building, suicide, a perfectly healthy young person suddenly dropping dead. Come on, you don't have to be psychic to think this doesn't add up.
真的是我的吧？
对啊，我跟维维是认识很多年的朋友，然后这次他当了队长，我的第一的感觉就是我要去争取去你的队，不管你要不要选我。
Chapter 5 Happy Boy A Choice That Was Never His.
If you thought Winnie the Pooh chose to enter the entertainment industry, no.
We were sent to compete on Happy Boy.
But I was eliminated in the first round. That year was special. It was the only year with a revival mechanism.
Reportedly, one judge, who may have had intuitive abilities, saw that 𝗠𝗲𝗯 was being targeted. He tried to help him leave the competition because he saw this boy was too naive, too pure, and this whole thing would swallow him. He said no. He refused to let 𝗠𝗲𝗯 advance. But they brought 𝗠𝗲𝗯 back anyway, because the plan was set from the very beginning. You don't put a tracking device on someone and monitor them 24/7, unless they were a prisoner from the start.
Chapter 6
Please feed me.
Please feed me.
I'm cold.
I'm cold. What I'm about to read are 𝗠𝗲𝗯's own words, transmitted through a spirit box.
Reportedly, they kept him locked somewhere. No food. In darkness, day after day. He said,
Please feed me. Please put me out of my misery. Stop my suffering.
The spirit communications also mentioned, toward the end, they took him to see a doctor because he was injured. That doctor discovered all the marks on his body. Was he forced? Who did this? Yes, I was. I'll record all of this. I'll release it for you. I'll record all of this. I'll release it for you.
You know, the doctor was a good person. He didn't say avenge me, he just said that doctor was a good person. Even in the spirit realm, he was still thinking of others.
Chapter 7 Sunflowers Turn Toward the Light. In this live stream, there was one line I can't forget.
This person wasn't Jesus. He wasn't the Messiah. He was just a light bringer, here to wake us up, to point us in the right direction.
He had every reason to break down. After everything he went through, he had every right to hurt others, to seek revenge, to become like them. But he never did.
He was always kind. He was always gentle. He was always giving. Then came 𝗠𝗲𝗯's favorite flower, sunflowers. Why sunflowers?
because what do sunflowers do? They turn toward the light. In that kind of darkness, locked in that kind of place, experiencing that kind of suffering, he still chose to face the light.
Chapter 8 We Can't Go Back to Sleep. The final words of this live stream, I think this is the most important part.
He woke us up, and we can't go back to sleep. If we go back to sleep, we're ignoring the sacrifice he made for us. He knew he was going to die. Can you imagine living like that? This is why so many people are still fighting for him. Because we know he came here to help us. He turned the other cheek. And we can't pretend nothing happened.
That was the core content of segment 2 of 𝗵𝗲𝗯's live stream. What she revealed wasn't just entertainment industry darkness. It was a sacrifice plan spanning a quarter century, designed since 2000. An elementary student's natal chart was taken. A boy was groomed, made famous, then destroyed. A soul in darkness said, "Please feed me, I'm cold." And he still chose the light. In the next episode, segment 3, there will be more about the deeper structures of the entertainment industry, what we can do, and prophecies for the future. What do sunflowers do? They turn toward the light. If you've made it this far, thank you for spending your time here. If there's anything that felt unclear or anything you'd like me to explain further, you're always welcome to leave a comment. I'll do my best to clarify and fill in the gaps. I hope what you found here offered some value, something to understand or something to think about. Thank you for being here, for listening, for taking the time. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to subscribe. And if you feel like it, you can leave a comment just to let me know you're here. Because every voice matters, and yours does too. I'm Angel. May the light be with you.
I am a blue whale, living where light never reaches. I thought silence was forever, until I heard a soul crying. His voice cut through the ocean floor, through everyone's silence, through years pretending not to hear. That moment I knew I had to rise on the other side of earth. A woman heard it too. Her name is Deborah. Where maple leaves fall. She's not a psychic, just someone with a radio that catches what we cannot hear. She pressed the switch and waited. Help me, help me. Over and over like waves on rocks, like a heartbeat fading out. She cried, I cried too deep below. Tears have no borders, they're all the same. Salt far in the east, a forest hides in fog. A bad panda lives there, eyes cold as stone. He says, no sound here. He says, no tears allowed. He cages every singing bird, swallows every star. But he forgot, weeds cross every border, whale songs pass through walls. And Deborah's screen is lighting up the dark. Will the dawn arrive when we finally speak? Will the sea divide when the whale breaks free? Deborah lights a lamp across the sea, shining toward Taiwan, toward you and me. Will the dawn arrive for souls in the night? I'll become the wave. You're not alone, I hear you now. The bad panda thinks he's one, but light never dies. It only waits for someone brave enough to shine. Deborah tells a story. Some break your heart, some make you rage, some make you believe. She says a boy never gave, and they tortured him, locked him away, tried to steal his soul, but he said no. One word strong sword and the panda's claws with no, he saved himself and lit a